Right, so we're going to recap the 5 caged shapes from the last video. The caged shapes refer to the shapes of C major, A major, G major, E major, and D major. So C major is with your first 3 fingers, and we're going to be on third finger on the 3rd fret of this A string. You're going to have your second finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. We're going to play an open G string, and our first finger is going to be on the 1st fret of the B string. We're going to strum down from this A string here all the way through to this high E here. Then we're going to go A major. So with this shape, we want to have our first finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, our second finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, and finally our third finger on the 2nd fret of the B string. As with the C major chord, we want to strum from this A string all the way down to this high E string. Like that. Now, G major. You're going to have your 3rd and 4th fingers on the 3rd fret of the B, this second high string, and your little finger on the 3rd fret of the high E. Then we're going to have our first finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, and our second finger on the 3rd fret of the low E string. So we should be able to play the open D and open G strings here as well. You want to strum all 6 strings here. So it'll sound like this. E major. You're going to have our 2nd, 3rd and 1st fingers involved on this one. Second finger wants to go on the 2nd fret of the A string, right there. You want to have your 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the D, and then you'll have your first finger on the 1st fret of the G string. You can strum all 6 strings as with the G major chord as well, so it's like this. And now finally the D major chord, and we're going to use our 1st, 2nd and 3rd fingers. With our first finger on the 2nd fret of the G, you only have your ring finger or your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then you want your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the high E. This time you can pick from the open D string as well, so we're going to go. Some of these chords are going to require a little bit more accuracy than others. So for example, the G major, you can strike all 6 strings. The E major, you can strike all 6 strings. But of course for the C major, you can only strike 5 strings, or you should only strike 5 strings. And the same with the A major. And finally the D major, you only want to strum 4 strings. Now, a little bit of right hand technique for these chords. If we were to put a pulse behind this, like a tempo, you go like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you could strum the chords to the beat. 1 strum per beat, like this. 2, 3, 4. C major. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same with all the other chords. A major. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. G major. 3, 4. To E major. And finally D major. So those are what we call quarter notes. So there's 4 beats per bar, and you're strumming once on every beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You notice there I'm throwing an upstroke as well at the end. Now with upstrokes, we can do those on the off beats, which are essentially the beats between the metronome. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the downstrokes are on beats 1, 2, 3, 4, and the upstrokes can be on the up between, so like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. See, this will take a little bit of practice to get comfortable with, particularly when you're playing these chords where you should only be strumming a minute number of strings as opposed to all 6. But with something like G major or E major, as you can see, get a nice movement there. The idea is you don't want any tension in your wrist, you also don't want to restrict the movement in the slightest. Just you want to allow it to go. Build up the momentum and let it carry. And then a little thing you could do after that is try and change from one chord to the next, either using the quarter note strums, so 4 beats or 4 strums, or the 8th notes, where there's 8 strums, which are the down and the up, like this. So I'm going to do E major to A major to D major, using a mixture of quarter and 8th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty straightforward. So that's a combination of some of these root position chords, the C, A, G, E and D, and also a little bit of right hand technique. Now if you notice, I'm not strumming from the elbow. That's not going to be beneficial. So just keep the wrist relaxed. Try and strum mostly from the wrist. Kind of imagine if I put the movement like that, you can kind of see it's like putting a key in the lock and twisting it. That's all it is. And obviously the more comfortable you get with this, the faster you can do it, and then you can build into like a 16th note rhythm. So combination of downstroke and upstrokes, but 16 strums per bar, kind of found in a lot of funk music. Or for example, let's see, Doobie Brothers, Long Train Running. That sort of movement. Now if we're trying between C major and G major, for example, we'll do quarters and 8th notes. Now to D major, A major